Pierre Poilievre has survived his leadership review. The Conservative Party leader won the approval of delegates with 87.4% of the vote. Poilievre posted on social media this morning with a photo of the celebration last night from the floor of the Conservative Convention in Calgary, thanking Conservatives for their votes, pledging hope and an affordable future, and that it was time to get to work. The CBC's Kate McKenna has more from Calgary.
The result is in, and Pierre Poilievre got 87.4% support in his leadership review at the Conservative Convention. And this is a big result. This is on the higher end of what organizers thought he would receive. And it does beat the benchmark that was set by Stephen Harper in 2005. So organizers I've been speaking to are very happy with this result. We know that behind the scenes, Pierre Poilievre was meeting with delegates to sell them on his vision for Canada. We know that members of Poilievre's team were also calling up delegates, trying to ensure that good vote. But this is sort of a final hurdle for Pierre Poilievre after what had been a very difficult 2025 that saw him lose the federal election, saw him lose his seat, saw a couple members of his caucus cross the floor to the Liberals. That is a big reason why there was so much effort put into this leadership convention. And, you know, they are very happy with the result that they received, believing that this will, for now, quell any sort of leadership debate from within the party's grassroots. Earlier in the evening, Pierre Poilievre gave a speech to the membership where he outlined his vision, where he talked about how important it is to stand up for the Canadians who are really having trouble making ends meet. He claimed that the Liberals were not doing a good job of that, and made his pitch for Canadian sovereignty, which in his view involves getting more Canadian products to market, increasing resource extraction, and that is how he says that he would stand up to Donald Trump and the tariff threats. Now, with this mandate, his campaign director, Stephen Outhouse, told Power and Politics that they can move forward and prepare for the next election. We can expect to see Pierre Poilievre holding town halls, meeting with more youth, trying to grow that base before the next election, whenever that might be. Kate McKenna, CBC News, Calgary.
For his perspective on the leadership review, let's bring in Andrew Brander. He is a Conservative strategist, a delegate, and was at the convention, and also a vice president at Crestview Strategy. Andrew, thank you so much for joining us this morning. I know it's likely been a very long weekend, a long night for you already, and it's only Saturday morning. So I just want to get a sense from you, having been there at the convention, what was the mood like, and what were you hearing from delegates?
Thanks, Marianne. Electric, quite honestly. I think the excitement in the room, well into the evening, as you talked about last night, was really resounding, and I think a really good echo of the strong mandate, very strong mandate that Mr. Poilievre received in the leadership review. I think there's not a lot of precedents to compare the result to. Of course, the last two leaders the Conservative Party has had didn't even make it to the process of a leadership review after an election loss due to the Reform Act and a few other choices by the party to have those leaders not get a second shot at running another election campaign. But I think this one was a very clear signal from the Conservative grassroots, not only of Mr. Poilievre and his leadership style himself, but of one of continuity, one to encourage him to continue to talk about the issues that he's been focusing his campaign and his ideas around, and remain focused on those as a way of connecting with Canadians to bring more of them on board in an attempt to win the next election.
So it's interesting because when you look at the situation he is in now, it is much different from the situation he was in after he lost the last election, even his own seat in Parliament. What does this mean for the way he leads the party now? Do you think this vote, this 87.4%, erases any doubts about him as a leader?
It does. It's hard to say that there's a whole lot of stability at all in any kind of minority parliament. But the more you can do to sort of mitigate these types of factors, the better. And what I will say is, Kate's story before this referenced that organizers we're quite happy with the result and relieved. I can say members certainly are. As being a longtime member of this political party since the merger of the Canadian Alliance and Progressive Conservatives back in the day, I can say there's not a lot of things that Conservatives can often. It's a very broad tent party. Not a lot of things that Conservatives can be so united about, and to receive a mandate like 87%, upwards of 87%, is quite astonishing. So I think there's a lot to be said for the stability that's going to provide to members who are trying to move forward, to candidates in the next election who are thinking about putting their name on the ballot, and quite frankly to caucus, to say, well, we understand you have options available to you under the Reform Act, but you better think very, very carefully about exercising any kind of those powers, given that the membership, the grassroots membership, has given such a resounding endorsement of Mr. Poilievre's leadership. So I think it's a lot of stability all around for the party.
Finally, I just want to ask you your opinion on how you think Poilievre did when it comes to addressing U.S. threats from President Trump. We know Jason Kenney, who's the former federal cabinet minister and Alberta premier, says, yeah, he did a good job with his speech, but he did not do a good job when it came to addressing that. What did you think?
Yeah, look, I would revert back to the comments I made earlier, which were the endorsement he received last night was an encouragement from the membership to continue to stay focused on the issues that he's talked about. Of course, pundits, there's a lot of pundits that said he didn't focus enough on that in the last election. I think the outlet for members signaling their position on that would have been that leadership review that happened last night. And as I said, I think if anything, Poilievre can walk away from that saying, I need to keep doing exactly what I'm doing.
Conservative strategist Andrew Brander in Calgary, thanks so much for talking to us this morning.
Have a great day.